You've been called a failure. You've been called a loser. You've been called every name in the book. People have told you how many times, dude, you need to quit. Why do you keep doing that? Why do you keep wasting your time doing that? Listen, today we're going to be talking about a guy who basically, this was recent. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news, but there's a certain company that helps you. You know, you go on an app, you go on your smartphone, your iPhone, your Android, whatever it is, and you go ahead and you're like, hey, you know what? I want to order this from so and so store. I want to order this from this, and then guess what? It gets delivered straight to your door. This app basically went public, and the CEO, who had failed at 20 other companies, cashed out for 1.1 billion US dollars. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, guys. So do me a favor, go ahead and hit the like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and let's go ahead and get that intro started. So I want to thank everybody here watching me. Listen, if you're watching me on Spotify, just do me a favor, hit that follow button. And if you're on YouTube right now, obviously we're on YouTube because we're live on every platform: LinkedIn, Spotify. Spotify, we're not live on Spotify, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you're on any of these platforms, hit the button that shows engagement. Obviously, this is kind of a mini podcast, and this is also kind of a case study. I'm going to be having a guest, I believe, sometime this week, but this is just kind of a solo podcast. So I kind of just wanted to talk about this. So recently, there was a specific company that decided to go public, right? And this company, you guys have pretty much heard about it. And if you haven't heard about it, you're probably going to know about them once I go ahead and pull them up here on screen.
The Instacart roadshow is underway. Reports of a valuation of less than $10 billion is a big drop from prior funding rounds. And that's the focus of today's Tech Check with Deirdre Bosa. Morning, Dee.
Morning, Carl. It is a massive down round from that $39 billion that it was valued at just a few years ago. It won't come as a surprise for the already public tech companies that have also seen their market caps crater over the last.
So if you guys don't know what he's talking about the fact is to back, when the pandemic started, you weren't allowed to leave your house. So you have to pretty much have everything delivered, right? So Instacart, for the most part, if you notice, Instacart, Zoom, the stock went like crazy because you had no other choice but to use the stocks, right? Because these were basically the apps were existing at the time. Then at that point in time, Instacart's valuation was looking at roughly about 39 billion USD, right? So 39 billion USD, and that dropped to about 9.3 billion when they went public. So that's basically what we're talking about here. I mean, we can go ahead and watch a little bit more.
For still private startups, this should be a major wake-up call. Some of the largest unicorns, like Stripe, they've already taken their medicine and done rounds at lower valuations or marked themselves down internally. But others, like Chime, GoPuff, Discord, Plaid, they have not, and they will have to take a hard look at Instacart's IPO. Let's put this in context, though. Key question when any company goes public is, what is it? And therefore, how do you value it? What kind of multiple do you give it? Is Instacart a grocery, gig, advertising, e-commerce company, or some combination of the above? The valuation range does give us some clues. Investors, they will get a discount to what is seen as its closest comp, DoorDash. A $9.3 billion market cap for Instacart implies an enterprise value of about 2.5 times its last 12 months revenue. That compares to about 3.5 times for DoorDash.
So I'm not going to bore you guys here and talk about a little bit about valuation. So basically, initial public offering is what an IPO is. So basically, it just means, I don't know if you've ever traded in the stock market, because most of you might be saying, well, I don't know what an IPO is. But basically, when a company goes public, they basically put the shares on the market. And whenever they if you've seen the movie Wolf of Wall Street, right? Jordan Belfort. What he did was basically, obviously, even though that's probably a bad example, but what they do is they basically, their job is to basically take a private company and then offer the company up in shares where you can buy and become a part shareholder for the most part. So rather than it just being a private company, private shareholders, they make it public, make it to the public, and then you can trade the stocks on the NASDAQ or other basically trading platforms, right? But we're not going to get into that. But the main thing is if you do some more digging on this, we're going to go ahead and cover. There's an article here by, this is also, I believe this is a CNBC article talking about the CEO of 37-year-old CEO of Instacart. And Instacart basically, so we're going to do the math here. So Instacart was initially valued at 39.1 billion, right? 39 point something billion, but then they went public for 9.3 billion. Now, when Instacart went public, the CEO basically cashed out with a net worth of 1.1 billion USD. Okay, he cashed out a net worth of 31.1 billion USD. So 37-year-old quit Amazon, started 20 companies before coming up with Instacart. Now he's worth 1.1 billion, right? So his name is, obviously, he's a co-founder, Apurva Mehta. Okay, so this basically talks about into his story. So this basically dives into a story where basically it's a 37-year-old. We're gonna go and talk about some key points here because I'm gonna be sharing with you guys the 10 takeaways that I got from basically reading this article, right? So basically talks about him. He's a 37-year-old co-founder of Instacart, the online grocery delivery startup that went public on Tuesday and now boasts a market value of 8.8 billion. Okay, so in Instacart's largest individual shareholder, Meta is now a reported 1.1 billion worth 1.1 billion after selling 700,000 shares of the company he launched back in 2012. Right, so you can kind of look into, I think this is him talking a little bit more.
I didn't know what my idea was going to be, and so I moved to San Francisco, and I started about 20 companies, and unfortunately, all of them failed. But one day, I was in my apartment in San Francisco when I realized that all I had in my fridge was a bottle of hot sauce. And I love hot sauce, but you can't make it a meal. And so this was an ongoing problem for me, and I figured I couldn't be the only one who's suffering from this problem. This was 2012, and we were ordering everything online, except for groceries. And so I decided that I was going to change that. I started coding the first version of the Instacart app, and 3 weeks later, Instacart was born.
When it was born, it was kind of a rough prospect at that point. I think you were doing the deliveries yourself.
That's right. I was the coder. I was the delivery person. I was also the customer service person. I remember one time while answering the phone to help troubleshoot a customer's issue, I had totally forgotten that I had a pot of chicken wings on my stove in my kitchen. And fast forward 30 minutes later, unfortunately, my kitchen had burnt down and my entire apartment was flooded. So Instacart's early days were very crazy, but these are just temporary setbacks, and we continue to focus on building a great business.
Okay, that's crazy. So that's basically crazy. So this is basically his story, talking about everything. He basically spoke about the fact as to the reason why he quit his job at Amazon is because he wanted to become an entrepreneur. There's a lot of people out there that are like, they have that entrepreneur bug. They want to do more. But they don't really, there's a few reasons why they don't do it. I'm going to be covering the 10 takeaways that I got from his story here. Okay, so over the next 2 years, his entrepreneur attempts range from advertising startup for gaming companies to a social network for lawyers, and all of them didn't work. And then he turned his refrigerator into basically solving the problem, right? And we're going to talk a little bit more about the concept as to, you'll probably, because most people that watch this channel are either entrepreneurs, people want to start a business, or mostly business owners, or just someone who just like very, very curious, right? So you're the one I'm talking to for the most part. So I want to kind of dive a little bit into the story before I go ahead and give my takeaways and give my points. So I decided I was going to change, and basically, he said he saw a gap in a thriving online delivery market. This was in 2012, and we were ordering everything online except for groceries. Or I said Meta. I decided I was going to change that. I started coding the first version of Instacart app, and 3 weeks later, Instacart was born. That's what he said. You guys watch the video. So he speaks a little bit about the bumpy startup Instacart. So he wanted to get in the coveted startup accelerator Y Combinator, but missed the deadline to apply. This was according to TechCrunch in 2012. So he managed to impress them by using his app to deliver a 6-pack of beer to the headquarters, securing himself a spot, right? So that's very bold. Now, the Y Combinator, I'm probably not saying the name right again. Y Combinator, Y Combinator. Okay, what is the Y Combinator? So the Y Combinator is a formula which lets you implement recursion in a situation where functions can have names but can be passed around. It's just a I'm not even gonna get it's too much into the tech term there, but basically I would say the Y Combinator, I'm not too familiar with this, guys. Obviously, this is just basically from the article. It basically helped him land $2.3 million in venture capital funding within a few months, and Instacart quickly spread beyond San Francisco and now delivers groceries to about 80,000 stores, right? So basically, Kroger, Costco, any store. Me and the girlfriend, I can't remember the last time I was in a store. I use mostly Instacart for pretty much everything that I do, and that's because, for the most part, I like this. I like the fact that everything's there. And I did the math, right? So I did the math as far as my time. So it takes me if I wanted to go to the grocery store, right? So I live about 20 minutes from the closest one. So it's 20 minutes to get there. And then it's about 30 minutes to shop. And then another 20 minutes to get back. So it's roughly an hour and 10 hour and 15 minutes of my time. That's pretty much, I've pretty much used, or even an hour and 30 minutes of my time for the most part. And I pretty much have a busy schedule. So that hour and 30 minutes is something I could be using to knock something off. I do that and I come back and I have to unpack the groceries. So it's 2.5 hours before I end up starting up on my actual first project, versus with Instacart, someone else is doing the shopping. I knew the time is going to be here. And that's 2.5 hours I'm already pretty much using it to maximizing the time. That's pretty much how I see it. That's pretty much what I do for the most part. So, at the end of the day, it's all about time management, right? So why do people pay more? People pay more if either your solution either solves a problem they have, solves a pain point. And most people have is time management, right? Most people want basically the ability to control their time. They want to be able to the ability to be able to manage your time, right? So that's basically one of the key things that kind of take away into that. So if you kind of dive a little bit into stories. So before going public, Instacart basically wrote in a, Instacart basically wrote in an SEC found that the company had delivered more than 900 million orders containing 20 billion items since Meta first launched in 2012. With the IPO, Meta will depart his role as the company's executive chairman after stepping down as CEO last year, ending an 11-year run with the company. So think about this. He founded this company, and I think this is another thing is we're going to talk a little bit more. I don't want to give too much away, but I'm going to talk about my 10 takeaways from the story of Instacart founder, because then again, I think most people talk about the IPOs, but most people don't really talk about his story. And that's kind of what I really want to dive into here, into talking about his story, right? So to kind of talk about into story. So the first thing first is let's go ahead and let's go ahead and get back in here to let's go back and get into my first slide here. And let me add this here. That's not it. And there you go. All right, perfect. Listen, guys, we're doing this live, so obviously, there's got to be some improvising that's going to be done here. So we kind of dive in here. So basically, the Billionaire CEO, how he started. So the first key point that I want to talk about here is I want to talk about the fact of the myth of the overnight success, right? The myth of the overnight success. So the reason I want to talk about the myth of the overnight success is first thing first is almost everyone people believe that everything pretty much happens overnight. So you're going to look at a story right now, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh my God, Instacart CEO made $1.1 billion overnight. Oh my God, this guy's so rich. Like, how I wish I could be the Instacart CEO and just literally, come out with 1 billion." So recently I was talking to someone, and this was a cab driver. We're going from the airport to the hotel where I was going to stay at. And we were talking, and he's like, yeah, he spoke about the dreams of what he wants to do. And I'm like, okay, so what steps are you can get a bank funding for this? He's like, no, I'm not going to use the bank. I'm like, okay, cool. So how do you intend to get the money? He goes, I'm going to win the lottery. And I was like, okay, you're going to win the lottery. Okay. He's like, yeah, I'm going to win the lottery. And I'm like, okay, statistically, your odds of winning the lottery are 0.00 something% chance of you actually winning the lottery. He's like, yeah, but I know, man, but there's the billions, the power billions and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, the odds of it being you, maybe, maybe not. But here's the thing is most people are believing in the overnight success because everyone believes that everything is it's like a flick of a switch, right? There's this persona and this belief that all I have to do is just flick the switch on, turn the lights on, and then boom, money starts flowing, right? Turn on the tap, and then everything starts flowing. The reality is everything takes time. His story was talking about the fact that he started and it took him 11 years to be able to cash out for 1.1 billion. Now, most people might be like, dude, that's insane because I've been working at my job for 20 something years and I'm now worth 1.1 billion. Well, the difference between you and him is the path that he decided to choose to take, right? His path that he decided to take to the success that he had is completely different from yours because two people can put the same effort in the same business. You could be saying, you know what? I put in 20 years in my company. Well, your company probably became $1 billion company because you helped them grow, but then you just get a cut of the profits because you're sharing across the board with everyone else. Now, am I saying that you should go be an entrepreneur from watching this? No, absolutely not. I don't believe everybody should be an entrepreneur. The word to be an entrepreneur is it's one in which you're going to have to push yourself. You're going to have mental discipline. You can't give up. You're going to get dogged around. You just have to keep showing up. Right? It doesn't matter what time you wake up in the day. It doesn't matter how much coffee you got to have in a day. You got to keep showing up. You can't come into the world of entrepreneurship and be like, I'm going to have balance. People are like, oh my God, balance. I'm going to have the work-life balance where I work, Someone's telling me that, oh, I want to start my own business because I don't want to have a boss and I can choose my own schedule. Because everybody believes, oh, I can create my own schedule. I might work part-time. You want to know what the worst thing is about being your own boss? Is that you are your own boss, which means it is up to you to hold yourself accountable. That is the worst thing about being your own boss. You have to hold yourself accountable, which means if you had an actual boss and you didn't show up to work, you had somebody else who was going to say, hey, you didn't show up to work here. You have to do this, blah, 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 blah. If you're your own boss and you don't show up to work, then it comes to a perspective of like, you can't reprimand yourself. If you're supposed to say, you know what, at 8 a.m. I'm supposed to start doing something and you don't start doing it, there's no consequence for it because you are your own boss. So that's where the caveat and the problem starts to come in when you say, you know what, people say, oh my God, I want to be an entrepreneur, start my own company. I want to be an entrepreneur, start my own business. The problem lies here is the first problem is you don't hold yourself accountable. So accountability is the most important thing there. And it is very important if you want to be your own boss, because you have to hold yourself accountable. And 2, you have to have consequences for whenever you do something wrong for your own self, which means you can be like, hey, you know what? If I don't complete this project right, or I start work late, I am not going to go out and hang out with friends. I'm going to stay in. Right? You got to put in a little disciplinary things. Now, it's hard for a lot of people to do because they believe in the concept of oh, I can just bring the same work ethic that I had. You have to understand the work ethic that you had as an employee and the work ethic you're gonna have as a business owner is completely 2 different things. You can't bring up a 40-hour work ethic to a job that requires 80 hours a week, because 8 hours is the bare minimum if you're going to start your own business for the first 4 years. 8 hours is the bare minimum. It's like, I won't even say it's the bare minimum. It's a prerequisite daily. It's a prerequisite. Okay, because everyone says, that's why I don't believe everyone should be an entrepreneur. I don't think everyone should be an entrepreneur, because I believe that entrepreneurs are struggling from such a thing called they are mostly work addicts, which means they enjoy the work. Like, I can sit in front of my computer right now from usually late earliest I start working on my computer. If I do, it's around 5:36 in the morning, and I can sit here till 2-3 and not move, and I'm fine. Now, does that mean there are people out there that can sit for 6-7 p.m. and not? Because then again, I enjoy it, right? It's got to be something in which you have to enjoy the work. You can't just do like, oh my God, I have to work this many hours. No, you have to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, then you are losing the key concept of the word entrepreneurship, right? So the main key point I was going to talk about here was the myth of the overnight success. There's no such thing as overnight success. There's no such thing as an overnight fame. The way success works is not a viral video. You don't just automatically show up to the market and the market goes, here is 1.1 billion. No, the dude put in the work for 11 years. And then finally, business, COVID, the pandemic happened, made his business, made his app super tremendous, super popular. And then next, the rest is history. The rest is history, right? But you got to think about it. And you got to think about it from the perspective of you're like 1.1 billion, but you got to think about it. That's a compensation for you don't know the stress, the legal, when someone files a complaint, all the people that has to deal with, the staff and all of that stuff. None of us know how to deal with that. But it's something that he has to go with. So which is one? The first thing we talk about here is the myth of overnight success. There is no such thing as the overnight success. He's not an overnight success. So that's number one. There's no such thing as an overnight success. So that's the first point. Number 2, quitting a stable job, risky or rewarded. So Meta left the stable job. So he was working at Amazon, basically, which is funny. He was working for Bezos. And then he joined the Billionaire Club. So Meta left a stable job at Amazon to pursue his entrepreneurial dreams. This move could be seen as either brave or foolish. It's a debate worth having, especially for those contemplating similar leap. Now, that's exactly another reason why I say most people should not go become entrepreneurs, because I personally don't believe that a lot of people are cut out for it. I don't believe a lot of people are cut out for it. I don't think. Okay, I gotta fix my mic. I don't think a lot of people are cut out for the entrepreneurship world. I don't think you watching this, you're probably even go be an entrepreneur. That's just me and you just talking right now. I don't think so. Because genuinely, when I look at you and I'm like, hey, we're having a conversation. I don't even know you. But I'm thinking in a perspective as to, do you have the mental fortitude to keep going when things go wrong? Because here's the thing is being an entrepreneur is not stable. My first experience with entrepreneurship, I didn't understand this. Remember, I used to talk, if you guys watched me for a while, there was a story I talk about a job that paid me $300 a month. Now that job, the reason why that job paid me $300 a month was because I did not understand the skill of marketing. I didn't understand how to market myself. I did not understand how to get new clients. I didn't understand, because trust me, if at that point in time, at that year, if I had done the research and I was somebody who, if I am the man that I am today and I was that person back then, that job that I had was a job that should be paying me 6 figures a month. if only I knew how to get my name out there. It should be a job that should be paying me 6 figures. If I knew what I knew right now, but the reason why was because I was dependent on the company that I was working with at the time, even though I was an independent contractor. I was an independent contractor, but I was dependent on them at the time to help me get clients rather than just saying, you know what, I'm just going to go direct to consumer. Right? Rather than me just saying I'm going to go direct to consumer. I was relying on them to get me clients. And then overall, at the end of it all, you know what? It ended up being a sucky job. And I went and I took a W-2 job, which I am very enormously grateful for because, one, I enjoyed the stability, but then again, it was also a cap as well. Right? So you got to kind of think about it from that perspective. This is reason, and I'm saying this is whichever you could be an entrepreneur where you work in a company and rise up the ranks and make your fortune, or you can start up your own business and make your own fortune. But the reality is this risk. Are you willing to take the risk? This is a genuine question to ask yourself. Are you willing to bet on yourself? Are you willing to bet on yourself? And this is the most important thing I'm going to say this. If you cannot handle stress, if stress is not something you can handle, if you're somebody who gets easily anxious, if you suffer from anxiety, then I would not recommend you go be an entrepreneur because personally, I don't think you would probably make it because you're not, you don't, you get stressed out so easily. And part of the job is basically being able to handle stress, right? So taking in mind, right? So the number 3 is the role of failure and success. So Meta's journey was littered with failed startups, ranging from gaming ads to social network players. Does failure pave the way for success, or is it just a waste of time and resources? So now here's the thing: is does failure pave the way for success? Absolutely. Because okay, so here's the thing: someone told me and goes. So he was talking about Elon Musk, right? He was talking about Elon Musk he was saying Elon Musk is a loser. Um, he didn't invent any of the cars. He bought Tesla. If you look at the Solar City, which was the what you call it, oh yeah, solar panels, how it's failed, talking about all this stuff. And I said, you gotta understand. I'm like, Elon is not playing I'm on a game of millions. The dude is worth $300 billion. He's not playing the money game. He doesn't care if you think he's a loser. He doesn't care. The goal of this man is just like, I have a vision that I've had as a child and I want to bring it to reality. If people tell me that, you know, oh, I'm not, I didn't invent a car. Okay. And he didn't invent the car. So what? People, there's this belief that, oh my God, I have to be the inventor of something. You don't have to invent anything. Most inventors are broke because they spend so much time inventing it that they don't know how to talk about it, so they don't end up marketing, so they don't end up making any money. That's why most inventors are broke. I mean, you look at the case of Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. Edison was a very good marketer. That's the reason why to this day we remember him. He was a very, very good marketer, right? And you know, most of Hollywood used to be held in New Jersey because of Edison, and basically based off the rules, Hollywood then moved to California. But the reason why I'm bringing this is for you to kind of keep in mind and contextualize and understand something that to fail is a necessity in the part of success, because failure is only failure when you quit, right? It's only a bad road trip when you turn around and go back home. Because the reason is this: the reason is this is failure is not something. I don't see failures as failure. I see it as a lesson. Okay, you learn what not to do, and the thing is this: is if human beings don't learn the easy way, we learn the hard way. That's God's honest truth. We don't learn the easy way. We learn the hard way. So if we learn the hard way, then when you fail, and the bigger the failure you had, the biggest lessons I learned, one was when I made the big financial mistakes that cost me tens of thousands of dollars. And I was like, oh, man, you're reckless. Okay. Boom. What is the first thing I did? I put in place staff, and I put in place, just basically, roadblocks for me to make sure I don't make those reckless moves again. So then there's layers before every decision making that I make that involves any big financial decision, where I don't just make the decision just by myself. I actually am making the decision with the help of the people around me. Right. And that just comes from the practice too. You know what? I have failed in the past. And that's the key concept that I want you to think about. Is failure is a necessary part of success. It's a necessary part. Oh, I got a lava thing. It's not turning on yet. Let's see. But I got distracted there. But failure is a necessary part of success. Okay, it's a necessity for you to go through it, because when you go through it, you learn, you come out of the other side a different person. Okay, now we continue here. So the 3 week startup. So believe it or not, the first version of the Instacart app was coded in just 3 weeks. It's such a rapid development cycle advisable, or does this set the stage for future problems? So this is just basically what the point I'm trying to convey here is basically the element of speed, right? The element of speed, the element of like, hey, you know what? Is it basically the fact that he created the app in 3 weeks? Did that mean that he created problems for him? Yeah. If he had taken longer, does that mean it would have probably, helped, had less problems? Yeah. But my whole key thing is this: is I believe in one, speed. Be fast to do whatever it is that you want to do. Don't be slow. Don't be like, oh my God, I'm gonna take this much time. Oh my God, I'm gonna be slow. Oh my God, I want to make sure that the stars align. Because guess what? The stars will never align. Never will the stars align. So if the stars will never align, then there's no point in waiting for it. There's no point in hanging in there and be like, oh my God, I'm gonna take my sweet time and I'm gonna just wait. No, you go out there and you move. The faster you can bring your product to market, the faster you can know. Because once you bring your product to market is when the customers start to tell you, hey, I don't like this. Then you can start building it and fixing it around the customer. Because the first time you go to market, you're probably gonna suck. Your first product is going to be terrible. It's supposed to be. You don't know what you're doing yet, right? So the fact that he coded in 3 weeks, I think he should have coded it in 1 week and been fast with it. Okay, because speed to failure, speed, fail fast. You fail fast, you learn fast, right? The Y Combinator Beatrix. So Meta missed the Y Combinator application deadline, but managed to get in by delivering a six-pack of beer of the third headquarters. Is a clever hack or an unethical shortcut. Basically, all it just means is this: you got to be willing to go outside the box, right? Because so many people believe in the census to the rules, the rules, the rules, the rules. I am a big believer in following the rules, but my father told me something. He said, if you want to get something done, you have to be willing to impose your will on others. I'm not saying it like in a bad way, but if you want something done, you have to be willing to show up and be like, I want it so bad enough that I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it. I'm going to show up myself. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that this thing is a reality. The thing that I wanted to happen actually does happen. Okay? That's something that I want you to kind of think about in key in mind that I want you to take account from, the Y Combinator be a trick. All right? So venture capital. So he also basically, we didn't talk about this basically in the article, but a summary of Instacart secured $2.3 million. Oh yeah, we did. The Y Committee to help them secure $2.3 million in venture capital funding within a few months of its inception. While it accelerated its growth, could it be also to unrealistic expectations and pressure? Honestly, I just personally think most people think like, I'm going to start a tech company and then I'm going to go get venture capital. I don't believe you should go get venture capital. I personally don't even believe you should start a company and go get venture capital. I think when you start a company, you need to learn how to go direct to your customer. Go get the customers first. Most people build a company and say, I'm going to find venture capitalists to fund it. No, go find users for your product, right? Go find phenomenal marketers to market your product. Don't be waiting and say, you know what, give me some money so I can keep building it. And I'm going to just do this, be non-profitable for 5 years and then be profitable like, after 5 years. No, that's not acceptable. Go direct to consumer. Go direct to your customers. Directly to your customers, sell the product. And one of the things that we're doing, guys, is by the way, we're still working on this, but Rising Results, as you guys know, Rising Results is a virtual assistant agency, a virtual assistant company that I ran for the most part, where we basically had virtual assistants. If you were a business owner, you give us a call, we'll set up a virtual assistant that will help you automate your calls and automate your business. Now, it's not live yet, guys, but we're working with it, working on a team. We're building this, but we're actually going to be setting up an AI virtual assistant setup. So which basically means you have a virtual assistant calling, doing your inbound, which is basically your virtual assistant is basically your handling your inbound calls. If someone calls your business, it's taking all the inbound calls, or it's basically the virtual assistant is calling and doing outbound to get other people to book calls on your calendar, right? So that's another thing which we're working on. So guys, just go ahead and stay in the loop, because I'm going to be letting you guys know when that happens shortly. Okay, just want to basically let that out there, because Rising Results, we're going to be basically rebranding to Rising AI. We're going to be doing basically everything's going to be artificial intelligence. So it's basically, I'm very fascinated about AI. I'm very fascinated about artificial intelligence, and hence the reason why I'm bringing that up to you guys, because I want to make sure that I'm in the forefront of this AI revolution that's coming, right? That's my really, really my big vision that I have here. Okay. So gig economy and job security. So Instacart relies heavily on gig workers for its operations. while this works, this method is cost effective. What does it mean for job security and workers' rights? So, I mean, the gig economy, the way I look at the gig economy is just basically people need a side hustle. It's tough to live out there. And honestly, if Instacart didn't pay a lot of people, give people like they can finish your job at 5 p.m. and then start Instacarting from 5 to 10 and, work another 4 or 5 hours to make money, or they Instacart or Uber from 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. or Uber on the weekends to make extra ends meet. Because people aren't lazy. They just don't have the opportunity for it, right? I don't believe most Americans are lazy. Yeah, there was some there are, but I don't believe most people are really lazy. They just don't have the opportunity to make more money, right? So I think the side hustle is absolutely, that's what, if you need to do it, do it. As far as workers' rights, you're an independent contractor. Take it up with whoever it is that you're working for. That's basically, up to you to figure out here. So the traditional grocery stores endangered. So this is funny. So traditional grocery stores, are they endangered species? So Instacart delivering from over to 80,000 stores in more than 14,000 cities. Are traditional grocery stores on the brink of extinction? Maybe, because you look at what's the name of the store that closed again? Because I know where I used to live in Florida, Big Lots was one of them that was closed. Kimber, there's another store. Someone's gonna live in the comments. There are a bunch of stores that are closing up, right? Because they can't compete in the online market, right? Because if you look at this math here, basically, I got to make this a little bigger. But if you look at this math here, this is basically a showing the graph of basically this 1.1 on the bottom here signifies that to the left. Let me see if I can circle. Actually, I can't circle that because this is not being, but the 1.1 billion right there, that basically is signifying the, if you look to the lower left there, I can't really zoom in there, but that signifies Meta. Let me see if I can zoom in. No, I can't zoom in. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, much better. So if you look at the 1.1 there in the bottom, that's basically this is the amount of deliveries that they've made. The yellow, that's 900 million, and they basically service 80,000 stores, and that's basically the numbers there as we start to basically track it there. So that's basically that graph if you want to look at it from that perspective, right? So, and this here, I think this is cut up here, and the part that I want to bring up here. So here's my question for you, right? My question for you is this: is the concept of overnight success misleading for aspiring entrepreneurs? Is it misleading for aspiring entrepreneurs? The concept of overnight success, is it misleading? I think it is, because most people just see the concept of overnight success. They go, "Oh, this so-and-so person became successful overnight, then that must be me as well." I don't believe that's the case. I don't think that's how you should look at it, because overnight, the whole concept of overnight success, I want to be honest with you, there is no such thing as overnight success. There is no such thing as over. Nothing happens just overnight. Number two, would you quit a stable job to chase an uncertain dream? Would you? I'm very curious what your answer is, guys. And number three, how do you view failure, as a stepping stone or a setback? Okay. And number four, is rapid development beneficial or detrimental to a startup? Number five, do unconventional methods to secure funding undermine the startup ecosystem? And six, does venture capital funding set unrealistic growth expectations? And how does the gig economy impact job security? I'm very curious what you guys think about this. So, and also, a traditional grocery store is becoming obsolete. And another one that I want to kind of look at here is on this bottom part here is, what are the implications of founders exiting after an IPO? What do you think about the fact that he left at the tail end of the IPO? What do you think about that, right? And is the gig economy sustainable in the long term, right? Let me know, guys, in the comment section, chat, wherever it is that you want to, whenever and wherever you're watching this. And it's also obviously awesome to have everybody on. And thanks again for everyone watching me. And obviously, guys, just do me a favor, go ahead and share the video, like the video. And obviously, my newsletter is going to be in the description if you want to join the newsletter. Feel free to join the newsletter. And I will, you can go to reallygood.com as well. And you can join the newsletter. And then obviously, whenever the updates come out and we start rolling out the AI appointment setter, AI sales reps, AI virtual assistants, AI just for your general day-to-day basis. Just imagine if you could just go and tell the AI, hey, I want you to call and set up a hair appointment for me. It can do it for you 100%. We'll be working on that, guys. So thanks again for everyone watching. And obviously, like I said, guys,